Good morning, baby girl. One, skip. We are going to be making some coasters in class today. I know I'm on a little bit early. I'm giving everybody time. I did link this pattern in my bio on the link tree if you wanted to follow along. If you don't have the availability to print it out, I will have a picture here on screen of the chart that we'll be using and showing you how to do the corner to corner technique and how to change colors. So for this we're going to need 3 colors today, but I'm not really going to get started on any of this portion until actually 8 a.m. because that's when class starts. So I'm just here about 5 minutes early. What I am going to be doing is trying to finish up putting the strings on this one that I had demoed this morning that we will be doing for the knit portion. I will be showing you how to knit and purl. It'll look a little flatter than this one because this one's garter stitch. The knit stitch, the purl stitch, how to change colors in knitting. There's more than one way to change colors, but I'll show you how I change colors. But you don't have to have a bunch of different colors. You don't have to do the color changes if you just want to practice the stitches. You can do one color. These are little mug rugs. I call them mug rugs. They'll have little fringe on both ends. When I get all finished with it. Good morning, Meredith. How are you this morning? Hoarder Ace, good morning. I'm over here just talking away and not paying attention. Do some of these here in between because we skipped that one color in there. I need to snip some of these strings. Oops. And we'll be showing you a couple different techniques today with the crochet and the knit. I'm just talking here as I snip some more of these little fringes for my mug rug here. While I'm waiting for 8 o'clock, we still have about 3 more minutes before class will start. Now for the corner to corner, if you just want to do straight corner to corner and not change colors, that's fine. For those of you who, want to challenge yourself a little bit or are learning and want to push yourself a little bit, we will be needing 3 colors for this coaster here. And I'm going to snip 2 more of these and work on this here for a second because my phone says we got 2 more minutes. My clock on the wall is chiming 8. So I'm just going to fasten a few more of these on here and move this knitted portion to the side. And I will show you how we do all of that here in a little bit. But I will be using it to introduce the class, which will start here in just a few minutes. I hope everyone's doing well and they're having a good summer and enjoying their time with their families. We put one more on here and we'll get class started. Again, you're going to need a crochet hook, yarn, 3 different colors preferably. Now, mind you, like I said, if you wanted to just practice the corner to corner without all the color changes for the first time, that's fine too. I'll tell you which parts that you guys can skip and what parts that you need to continue doing as we, work through the color changes as we go along. Now, here is for those of you who are just joining, I'm gonna show you how to do, and I was trying to get all the little fringes attached onto here. We're going to be making these coasters today. We're going to do corner to corner for the crochet portion, and we'll be redoing this coaster here. And then for the knitted portion, we're going to do what I call mug rugs. Your coffee cup will sit right on there, or your iced tea, whatever. They do work rather well. I have some that are crocheted that I use, and I don't have any wet rings or anything underneath them on anything that I've ever set them on. So, but I wouldn't do it on a really expensive table, because any water on an expensive table is going to make a mark. So we're going to work on this one here. Move some of this out of my way. I am in continuous clean off this desk mode, because all of my projects and everything that I do gets piled on here, and then I have to clean it off. Put my colors up here that we're going to be using. And corner to corner is exactly what it sounds like. You work it from one corner to the other corner, and your rows actually go on the diagonal. It's really easy to do. I like to do it in half double crochet. You can do it in double crochet. It doesn't work out so well in anything smaller than half double crochet, because single crochets don't build your block like you need to. So, get my yarn out here, and we will get started. I'm using worsted weight yarn today. I'm going to leave that up here so you can still see it. And this is the graph that we are working on today. And again, your corner to corner rows, I know your blocks are labeled on both sides. You see your one here. Your rows are worked diagonally across those blocks like this. And you're actually working, this would be row 1. This one here would be row 2. And of course, row 1, you work one way. Row 2, you work the opposite way, and the same thing, 3, and then 4, and so on. Pretty much like following a regular chart, but you're working it this way instead of this way. Now, if you're doing a crochet graph, like a graphghan, or along that same style, you would work it just like this, and your color changes, your rows would go side to side. This one's set up for corner to corner. So we're going to get started here on the basics of corner to corner. Now I'm going to be using an off-white for this area here, and a maroon for my cup, and then I have some gray. I was looking to see, because on this one I used a little bit of the variegated gray color, and it kind of changes the steam coming out of the cup a little bit, but I couldn't find any of that this morning, so I'm just using a little bit of light gray. And I hope I might have to use a darker gray, because I don't think it's going to show up that well. Let me grab a darker gray here off the shelf. There we go. Now you can choose whatever colors you like. They don't have to be actual colors, you know, like they could be whatever color you want them to be, because you are the crafter. But we are going to follow that graph to make that picture out of whatever colors you choose to use. And again, if you only have one skein of yarn, one color, and are just starting out, you can work the basics of the corner to corner without the color changes, just for practice. So I'm going to go ahead and attach my yarn. Start by putting my elbow protector up here. If I don't, I'll be grabbing for it later. There we go. I do a slip knot to attach my yarn onto my hook. You can tie a knot however you attach it. I'll show you the slip knot how I was shown how to do it just by doing it on the front side of your hand. You wrap your yarn over like this, so this goes over top. Then you're going to take this and pull up a little loop in between that loop that you made there, and then pull everything together. There's another easier way. Or again, just tie it on so it's secure, and it's not tight, it'll move. Now we're going to do a chain 5. A chain is actually for the beginners, just pulling a loop through the loop that you have on your hook, and you're going to do that 5 times. Again, you're just going to yarn over and pull through the loop. There's 3, 4, and 5. Okay, now we have 5 chains. Should look like this. Little V's in a row, like a like wheat almost. Now we're going to go down to the 3rd chain from the hook. This doesn't count as a chain. We are going to count 1, 2, and then 3. We're going to yarn over, and we are going to go into that stitch right there, and we're going to do a half double crochet. I'm going to put our hook right in through that stitch, yarn over again, and pull up a loop. Now you have all 3 loops on your crochet hook. At this point, you're going to yarn over again and pull through all 3 loops. We're going to do that stitch again. It's called a half double crochet. We're going to yarn over, go into the next stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. Now we have our 3 loops again. We're going to yarn over and go through all 3. We're going to do that one more time in this last chain. Now you have made a rude shaped square or rectangle. This is actually this first little square right here. Looks like that. Now we're going to repeat that process from where we are here. We're going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, and there's our 5. And we have something that looks like this. Now again, 3rd chain from the hook. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to yarn over and do a half double crochet. If anyone needs for me to give more instruction on the half double crochet, I'll slow down and show you the half double crochet. We're going to do that in the next 2 chains, this one here and this one right here. Watching through the camera view makes it a little bit harder to do this. So I'm going to peek around this camera. Okay. Now you have something that looks like this. We have to flip our work, turn our work. You're going to take this square and you're going to turn it upwards like this. So you're actually looking at the back side of the first square when you turn it up. Also, where you started your first half double crochet, you have a gap right here. If you lay your crochet hook right there on that square and just push, it'll go right through. We're going to go into that space and we are going to do a slip stitch to join these 2 together. Okay, so a slip stitch, you yarn over and you pull through, and then you pull right on through the loop on your crochet hook. Now you have something that looks like this. Now we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do 3 half double crochets in that same spot right there where we did our slip stitch. Okay, so we're going to do 3 half doubles in that same spot. There's 1. Again, I'm watching through the camera view so I can stay in frame. It does slow me down a good bit. Plus my eyesight. I got an eye appointment this week, so I'll be able to see better. Alright, and when you get finished, you have something that looks like this, and that is these first 2 rows. Row 1, which is this square, and then row 2, which we did this way. Now we're going to do row 3, which starts in this corner and goes to here. We're going to have 3 blocks. And we're still on the same off-white color that I've chosen for the background. Okay, so we are going to, again, repeat the pattern. Chain 5. And then we're going to go to the 3rd chain from the hook and do a half double crochet. The little man was still asleep, baby girl. Okay, and again we have to, this is what we have, what it looks like now, we have to turn our work. Yes, Lena, this is C to C. So when we turn our work, turn this up like this. Normally you would flip it over to the other side. With C to C, you just flip your work up. Oh, okay. So we're going to join these 2 squares with the slip stitch. Again, if you place your crochet hook right here on this edge and just push down, you'll find the gap that was created by the chain 2 in the last square. So we're going to go into here and do a slip stitch, which is pull your loop through your stitch and then through the loop on the hook. Now they're attached. Okay, we're going to do a chain 2. And in that same space, I just fold this out of the way because my crochet hook grabs on it as I'm doing these stitches. So in this same space where you did your slip stitch to join, you're going to do 3 half double crochets. Yes, half double crochet does make the project smaller. It does close up all the little airy gaps. I don't like to have the big holes and gaps in my work unless it's lace work, and it's intended to be that way. But yes, I like the half double crochet is my favorite stitch, by the way. So I'm pretty preferential when I'm freestyling. I like to do the half double. Again, we're going to come over here to this one, and in that gap right there before we did our chain or our 3 half doubles is where we're going to join this one with a slip stitch. And we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to do 3 half double crochets in that same space. Okay. And this just gets repetitive. Now on our next row, we've done row 3, and I normally mark my rows off like this. So row 4, we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks of the same color that we're currently using. This is where the repetition comes in. I'm very particular to seeing patterns in things. We're going to chain 5. I don't know how many that was. And my mind's not seeing where I started. Let me do my chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. And again, 3rd chain from the hook. Don't count the one that's on the hook, because that's just a loop. That's not a chain yet. The chain has to be off the hook. So 1, 2, and 3. We're going to do our half double crochet. Now mind you, if you like taller work, half double crochet to me, everything just seems to come out in proportion when you're working from a graph. When you start doing double crochets and treble crochets, it to me kind of takes your work out of proportion. This cup wouldn't look so much like a cup. It would look more like a mug because it would be taller. Everything would be wider. So that's why I like to do the half double crochet with this. Now we have to join this square to this square. Again, we are going to flip up our work, go right into that gap there, and do a slip stitch. Now we are going to chain 2. As we are working up these stair steps, after we connect, it will always be a chain 2. Okay, and do 3 half doubles in that same space where you joined. Move this out of the way before I start snagging on all of that over there as I'm trying to grab this yarn. I do it all the time. So I fold these other stitches down out of my way so that as I'm yarning over, because I get to going pretty fast, I'll be snagging these as I'm grabbing this. Oh, so I got to take them out of my way. So again, here we're going to slip stitch. I'm also going to be showing with this corner to corner color changes with crochet. All the color changes are going to be on the slip stitch, and I will describe to you as we go through. We need one more here. The color changes, and it's pretty much for every stitch. The half double, the double, the treble, when you do the color change so that it doesn't float from one square up to this little stitch right here in your join. And again, we're going to chain 2, and then 3 half double crochets in that same space where you did your join. And this will complete row 4. A neat thing about corner to corner crochet, you can count your rows more ways than one until you get to your decreases. Here you can see this block, this block, this block, and this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 rows. You can also count it on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, there's a third side that you can count it on up until you do your decreases, and that's right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Once you start doing your decreases, you can't count across this way because it won't work. And I'll show you that when we start decreasing. So now we're going on to row 5 because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 done. 3 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 starts up here because 1, I always go down on row 1, and then row 2 and all the rest of the even rows I'm working upwards. You have to remember which way you did your row, because if not, and you come up here and go the wrong way on your row, you're going to start down here and your coffee thing is not going to be in the right spot, especially if you lay your work down. So always mark which way your rows are going when you first start doing this. I just come off the edge of the pattern here like this and put an arrow if I have to stop. If I have to get up and go get a drink or, go answer the door or answer a phone call, I'll put a mark just so that I remember. So when we do row 5, we're going to be starting down here and coming this way. Oh, what did I do? Because that's not row 5, that's row 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, row 5 starts in this block. They've got it off a little bit. So we're going to start up here because this one went this way. So we're going to have one of this off-white color, and then I'm going to show you the color change here, and then we're going to change back. So I'm also going to show you how to carry your yarn on these little short passes here, and how to do other bobbins up here and separate for this down here to help you not have to have so many ends on the back to have to weave in. So we're going to start row 5, which is this block right here, and we're going in this direction. So we are going to start for our next block, which is chain 5. And I'm going to try and get this done in an hour so that I have a full hour for the knit. Third chain from the hook again, 3 half doubles, 1 in each of the next 3 chains for your square. And then we're going to flip our work up so that we can join the 2 squares together. Okay, flip our work up. We're going to join with the slip stitch right in this gap right here. It was created by the chain 2 that we did before we did our half double crochets. Now I'm going to move this out of my way here just so we can see this and I don't grab a hold of any of my strings. We're going to chain 2. Actually, we should have done the color change. Let me back up. Don't want to join that. Now, when you go to do the final stroke of your stitch, whether it be a slip stitch, a single crochet, a half double crochet, you're going to do your color change. So this being a slip stitch, this yarn over will be the final stitch, the final stroke of this stitch here. So we are going to do our color change. I'm using some maroon for my cup. So what I do is I fold the yarn back over and I make sure that it covers at least all 4 of my fingers when I stretch it back to make a loop. This is where I connect my color. I'm going to grab that maroon. I'm going to leave the white alone for a minute, okay? Actually, what I do with this, and hopefully I don't confuse you guys, I lay this right over my crochet hook. See how I have the loop on my crochet hook, the old color, the stitch, then the new color. Hey Miranda, I'm going to pull that new color through, and then I'm going to drop my tail on the new color because I'm going to work over that. And I'm going to do my chain 2 to start my next color block. Okay, this white string is just going to hang out here, and it's going to be here when we come back, or I'm going to take it with me because I go back into the white after this one maroon square. So since I'm going to take it with me, I'm going to work over top of it here, and I'm going to have the tail end of the color change on the other side, and I'm going to work my 3 half doubles through that stitch and over those 2 tails. Okay, so I'm going to do 3 half doubles in this space, working over the tails of those 2 as well. So we have the one maroon color block, and then we're going to go back to the white. Okay, so I drop my maroon for just a minute. Let me pull a little bit more of that out because I don't want to have to fight with that ball. I'm going to tighten this up a little bit. So you see how I pulled this tighter here. And we're going to go back to the white. So take the white to the back, put my crochet hook in the space where we're going to do our slip stitch to join these together. Drop my red yarn right there. Pick up the color that I'm going back to next, and I'm going to pull that through. There's my slip stitch to join. You can see how I start my next square off the color that I'm going to use so that I don't mix this red into this white square and then this white into whatever the next color may be. Okay, so again at this point we're going to chain 2, and then I'm going to leave this red. I'm not going to work over it because there's no more red down here. I will maybe I'm going to carry that red. I'm going to decide to carry that red over these 2 stitches so that it's here when I go to do this one. So I'll show you how we're going to do that. We're going to work right over top of it as we do our next 3 half doubles. So we're going to lay it right there and go back into that gap where we did our join and do 3 half doubles, working right over that red. Oops. Half double here. Move this out of the way. There we go. Now I can move a little quicker. Now, when we come up here to join, we're going to bring that red up right there so it's back over our needle again, in between the stitch and the loop that's on our hook. And we're just going to hold it right there as we work that one slip stitch. Okay, now we're going to chain 2. That also locks that in there so that it, you can't really pull it back out. It's not going to go anywhere. I give it a little tug just to tighten it up. You don't want to pull it too much because you'll accordion your work. Just, give it a little snug. Now we're going to work, we're not going to work over top of it though, because we're going to be coming back up and getting that red. So we're going to leave it right here so that it'll be here for when we come back up to do this one. This helps save you from having to cut or weave in a whole bunch of ends. So again, in that space where we joined, we're going to do 3 half double crochets. Allie, I used to love to crochet, and I gave it up for a long time because it really affected my carpal tunnel in my hands. We're going to join this in this gap until I found these. These help save my hands and my carpal tunnel. If you have arthritis and if you grip things and it makes your hands hurt, put a gripper on your crochet hook. That makes the hook bigger for you to hold on to. We're doing 3 half double crochets in that same gap where we joined. Okay, and we have this here, which is all of this here on this corner. So I'm going to mark off this row so that I stay, and I mark off from the corner to corner, so it marks off that row. Now we're going on to row 6, which starts off with this white cube here. All right, and we're just going to continue on with our chain 5. Yes, I am on row 6 now. On row 6 right here, this block. And we have a good bit of the maroon, and it looks like only 2 of the white. So what I'm going to be doing when I use this white here, I'm going to be attaching another ball of white, which I should have pulled before I got started. Another ball of that same color. Normally, when you do things like this, you wind a certain amount of yarn, pretty much undetermined amount of yarn, around a bobbin, and you have it hanging off the back of your work. So, I don't leave the bobbins hanging. I have a whole bunch of strings hanging and attached with my work. So the more colors you do, the more your yarn's going to get tangled up. But I love doing this because it makes pictures. I love to watch the pictures form on these. So on row 6, we are going to start with a chain 5, which brings our, gives us another block. 2, 3, 4, 5. There we go. Third chain from the hook again. 1, 2, and 3. We're going to do a half double crochet and then 1 half double crochet in the next 2 chains after that. And then we will flip our work and attach those squares together. If anyone needs for me to slow down and demonstrate the half double crochet, please just say so in the comments and I will slow down. Now you have, again, it looks like this. So we're going to flip our work up, find our chain 2 gap right here on the edge, and we're going to join with a slip stitch. Now this next block is a color change. So we're going back to the maroon. We did not bring our maroon down far enough on the back side, which is okay. I'm going to show you how we're going to deal with that, and it's going to cover it right up. Okay? We are going to lay the white here. We are going to grab this and we're going to pull it through, but we're not going to allow it to get too tight. Once we got it pulled through, we're going to loosen this up just a little bit so that hangs out right there just like that. Okay? Now we're going to chain 2, and we left the white there. The white's still there. We are going to do 3 half doubles in this gap, and we're going to work over top of that red. Make sure that you have that red over top of your hook there before you start doing your half double crochets. The reason why I left it a little loopy is because it's got to stretch to this corner and then it's got to stretch up to here. Okay, we have our 3 double crochets there. We're going to go into the chain 2 space that we created there on the last row, and we're going to make sure on the back side that we come up underneath of that red, and we're going to work over top of that. Do our slip stitch. Okay, in our next block we have 2, 3, 4 of these maroon colors back to back. So we're going to do a chain 2, keep going with the maroon. And again, 3 half doubles in this space, and make sure that you go over top of that red that we had drawn down to the other square. Once I get these 3 half doubles in here, I'll turn this over so you can see that we have covered up that red that we drew from up here down to there. So no matter which side you choose to leave this laying on, both sides will look the same. And as far as weaving in, I'll show you how to weave in so that you don't know which side they were weaved in on. All right, we're going to continue on with another maroon. We need 2 more squares of maroon. So again, we're going to join into that chain 2 space with a slip stitch. Thank you for all the follows, guys, by the way. I appreciate every one of them. And we're going to chain 2. And then we are going to do 3 half doubles in the same space as the join. And again, slip stitch into the chain 2 space. We're going to chain 2, 3 more half doubles in that same space. Okay, now we have our 4 squares that we needed. 1, 2, 3, 4. We have to do our color change again. Okay, so if I pull this through and do the slip stitch, it's going to, let me show you what it'll do. It's going to bring that red up into the next square. So we perform our slip stitch with the white. Now I'm going to have 2 different strings of white hanging off of here, so I don't have to keep drawing all of that white from here all the way across and here all the way across. It will start causing issues with your work, it being pulled too tight. So again, I just make a little loop, make sure it's enough to cover back over all 4 of my fingers, just slightly stretched out. Make my little loop up here, and that's what I'm going to use to put on my hook and start my stitch. Okay? Now, again, the tail comes down, and all I hold on to, oh, you know what we didn't do? Let me come back over here into this red stitch. Put my hook into the stitch. Now we need to bring this red over to this other side again. This brings your, not only does it attach your yarn in there so it helps hold it snug, but it brings the yarn over to the opposite side where you need it to be when you come to do the next row. Because with your yarn hanging on the front side, you cannot, that's too long of a tail. I can make an adjustment here. Here we go. You cannot pull it to the back side and hide it if it's on the front side. So we now have our yarn to the back here, the red one. We have our tail here, which we're going to work over top of as we do these 3 half doubles. I'm going to chain 2 after your slip stitch, and then into the same space, working over this tail, we're going to do 3 half double crochets right here. Oh, I love yarn too. Perch, I love yarn too. Oh, I love all kinds of yarn. Anything yarn. Anything yarn. I'm going to be experimenting with some punch needle. I'll share that with you guys as well. I'm going to be doing all kinds of things, but we're going to stay class oriented right now. So again, I'm going to mark off row 6. So we did 5. This way, this one went this way, so I don't get confused. Row 6, we went this way, because I don't want to have to sit here and try and figure this out with my morning brain. So 8, we're going to go this way, and this is the first square. Oh no, on row 7, I'm sorry. They've got these so off-kilter that maybe if I do it like this, that won't confuse me as much. Because I'm used to them being in the center of the block and not so much off to the side. But anyway, okay, so 8, we're going to be going this way, and our first square is the off-white. So again, chain 5, and we are going to do 3rd chain from the hook, 1, 2, and 3, and half double in that first chain, or that 3rd chain, I mean. and then a half double in the next 2 chains after it, 1 each. And then again, you're going to flip your work. I move this pin, it's weighing my yarn down. Oops. Okay, we're going to flip our work. We're going to turn it up this way into that chain 2 space right there. And because we are doing a color change, we're going to pick up that maroon. Let's see, come back in here. We're going to drop the white in between the loop on our hook and where we're going to perform the stitch. And we're going to pick up the red off the back side, which was left right there. Okay? We're going to go ahead and pull our loop through for our slip stitch. And you can see the yarn that we're not going to be using anymore, we have laying right down in there. And when I do my chain 2, it's going to secure that right in there. Chain 2. Okay? And we're going to leave this here. Or are we going to leave it here? We're going to carry it down with us because we have one. I'm sorry, I'm right in front of the graph. We just did this one. We're going to do the maroon one. We're going to carry the white one down because we only have one. But we're only going to carry it down to here. We're not going to carry it all the way to the bottom. So that way when we come back up, we'll be able to use it on that square. So we're going to go ahead and perform our maroon, making sure, because we've stretched that across here, I can see that maroon color through my stitch. So when I go in there to do my half double, I make sure that I put my needle underneath that maroon so that I catch it underneath, so that you don't see that on either side. You want to make sure that you have that in there like that. Because if not, you can see that color go through that gap once you've got it completed. Okay, now we're going to change colors again. And you know what? I did not carry that white. Let me back up here. I have to carry that white, which means I have to work over it as well. So I'm going to lay that across there so I can perform this. 3 half doubles in that space. And then I have my white there, the white yarn, to do my stitch. So I'm going to pick up my white yarn and take it to the back. I'm going to go into the stitch, lay my maroon yarn in between the loop and the stitch I'm going to make, and pick the white back up. Go ahead and do your slip stitch. And then we are not going to, actually, yep, that stays up here. So we're going to chain 2 and then 3 half doubles in that space where you did your join. Oh, let me back up. We have to carry that red. So lay that red up across your red string underneath it there, and we're going to work over top of it so that we don't have to add another piece of red. We don't want to have a whole bunch of strings. Keep it to the minimum. I will be uploading this to YouTube later this afternoon so that it'll be there. Now we have to go back. We've done this one white square. We have to go back to maroon again. So we are going to take our maroon string to the back, go into our stitch here, lay the color that we're not using anymore right there over our crochet hook, and pick up the color that we need off the back. Okay, hold that one there, and we're going to work our slip stitch. Okay, now that white yarn, as soon as I do my chain 2, will be secured right there. And then we're going to do our 3 half doubles, and we're going to leave that white yarn right there because we're going to use it when we come back up on this edge here. Now we have 1, 2, 3 blocks of the maroon that we need to do. So we're going to do 3 half doubles. We've already done our chain 2 there. 3 half doubles in the same space where you joined. And I don't know if we're going to finish this in 20 minutes. We're going to join with a slip stitch in the top of the next square, and then chain 2, and then 3 half doubles. I might have to do the knitting portion later this afternoon. I do have to run out. Now we are going to do one more maroon, a slip stitch to join in your chain 2 space there from the last square. Then we're going to chain 2, FYP. What does that mean, Stelly? 3 half double crochets in that same, is that where you found me on your FYP? All right, now we have to do a color change again. So we are going to go into that chain 2 space. We are going to, For You page. Yeah, I know. Oh, that's where you found me. Okay. Very good. That means you're watching a lot of crochet videos. Oh, thank you for sharing, Amber. And we're going to lay that maroon right down over there. And then on the back, we have our second white string. We're going to pick that one up. And we are going to go ahead and perform our slip stitch. Okay. I hold the maroon right there. Just hold it down. You don't have to do anything particular. I'll give it a little tug to make sure that they're together and there's no big gaps in here. And then I'll go ahead and do my chain 2 to start the next square. And I'll just leave that red hanging there. 3 half doubles in the same space where you did your join, and then we will have completed that row. These are something that are really cute. It's you can do any picture, you can do any size. Stitch Fiddle will really help you with pictures and things. If you want to do your own pictures, you can do it on a piece of graph paper. Have the kids graph out something and you can stitch them up a coaster of something that they drew. You know, make sure each block has a color. And, oh, thank you, Tess. Yes, this is corner to corner, C to C, for sure. That Italian chick, yes. So we are going to go ahead and mark off row 8. All of the little blocks that we just did. And, actually that was row 7, I'm sorry. Yeah, these things confuse the heck out of me. Row 8's going to go this way. So we have one white block to start row 8 here. So we're going to chain 5. Now mind you, if you just wanted to do this without all these color changes, it's just basically the chain 5, 3 half double crochets in the third, you know, from the third chain starting. 1, 2, and 3. 1 half double here, and 1 half double in each of the next 2 chains that follow. Okay, again. And I'm only going through 1 loop of the chains. I don't know if people do it differently and go through both loops. I only go through 1. It's the back loop. And then I flip my work. You're going to flip this up this way. And then in this gap here, which is the chain 2 before we started the square, we are going to attach. And I do believe that we are going back to the maroon. We are for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares. So because I'm into my stitch, I'm going to lay the yarn that I'm no longer using over my crochet hook in between the loop and where I went in to do the stitch. And I'm going to pick up my red yarn, which was left conveniently right there where I needed it. Okay. And you don't want to pull this too tight because you are pulling that red yarn from here over into here. You don't want to pull your squares, you know, you want to make sure that they're nice squares. So give a little tug on my white yarn there to make sure I don't have anything loose in the back, and go ahead and do the chain 2. And we're going to do the 3 half double crochets, making sure that you work over top of the red that you stretched across the back side. So you want to make sure that you catch that in there when you start your 3 half double crochets, all of them. You want to work over top of that maroon, because if not, it'll look like a string hanging out in there and it'll be very visible. I think I said we had 5 of these to do. So again, slip stitch to join, chain 2, and then 3 half doubles in the same space where you did the join. And you just repeat that all the way up to the very top. Now, when we come to this corner over here, block 12, we are going to decrease here and up here. I've highlighted those with a darker ink here, and I will talk about those when we get to those, which will be here shortly. But on this inside part, when you join with a slip stitch, it's always going to be a chain 2 and then 3 half double crochets. Now mind you, you can do this in double crochets or treble crochets if you like, but it's really going to elongate your picture. Your picture's not going to get wider. Your stitches are getting taller, so everything's going to look taller and skinnier than your picture. Oh, did I miss a comment? To make a circle image without it looking pixelated. I don't think so. Not that I know of, Becky. I'm sorry. Stitch Fiddle. Stitchfiddle.com, Shell. It'll do needlepoint. It'll do corner to corner, crochet graph gans, knitting, double knitting. Anything that you can do in a graph, Stitch Fiddle will help you do. Yes. So how many did we have? 5. So here we're going to slip stitch to join, chain 2, and then 3 half double crochets, which is the stitch we're using. Because you know, when you do a double crochet or a treble crochet, the stitch width doesn't change, just the stitch height. That's why I like so much the half double crochet, because the width and the height of the square are almost the same. It does make it a little more rectangular shaped, but you know, when you do the double crochet, it is a little taller, but it's still only as wide as this. So I don't like using those other stitches for those. 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now this next stitch we're going to do a color change again. The yarn that we're not using gets laid to the front in between the loop on your hook and this where you're going in to do this stitch. Now I did not pull this back up here, so I'm going to have to go back 1 square and work over that white so I can bring it back up here to the top. I didn't want to have to add an extra skein of yarn here onto this to be able to have just 1 white square. So I'm going to pick up my white yarn. If you're following along, go back into this square like I'm going to do the next square, and I'm going to work over top of that white yarn there and do my last maroon square here. You can see I'm holding it, so I'm working over top of it so it covers it, so I don't have it stretched across the back of my work, so that once I get done with this coaster, it really doesn't matter which side's the front or which side's the back. They're both going to look the same. Just the image will be flipped. Okay. I'll pull this a little tight here because that got a little loose, but I can worry about that later. Now we're going to do our color change. The maroon's going to go down, and I'm going to pick the white up and perform my slip stitch, which is the next stitch. And you can see that the red color is not going to come up, not even one little tiny bit into this next. So that's why I do the color changes the way I do. And I'm not going to work over my red yarn because there are no more reds up higher than this, so it's always going to stay right here. So after I did my chain 2, I'm going to do 3 half double crochets again in that space. Very repetitious, this pattern. 5, 3, slip stitch and 2. Now we're going to do our slip stitch, our chain 2, and then our 3 half double crochets. Now mind you, if you're doing double crochets with the corner to corner, you have to make sure that you do a chain 6, because chain 5 is not going to give you the height you need to not have this square curve over because your chain was not tall enough for the stitch that follows. Okay, so now we have completed row 8 and we're going to start row 9, which goes this way. This way. Yeah, because we're up here at the top of the cup now. We're going to start here and go downwards. So we have 3 of the white colors here. So again, chain 5. And then 3, 1, 2, third chain from the hook. We're going to do our first half double crochet. And then 1 half double crochet in the next 2 chains. Keep an eye on the time. Again, flip our work up so we can join the squares together. And then chain 2. Then you have your 3 half double crochets in the same space you joined. It's all repetition. Very, very repetitive. And this is, I love doing this because, and we're going to do our last white square here, and we're going to change our colors again. We did a slip stitch to join, chain 2, and then 3 half double crochets in the same space where we joined. Oh, starting to grab strings again. Now, I see why I went through. Did I go through? I didn't tighten that up, but I'll fix that. I'll fix that later. Now, we're going to change color again because we are here and we need maroon squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more maroon squares. So again, you're going to take the white you were just working with, lay it between the loop on your hook and the stitch you're about to do. Back here, you should be able to reach right back there, and your red should be right there, right where you left it. Go ahead and do your slip stitch. Leave your white yarn down. We're not going to work over it. Chain 2. And do your 3 half doubles in the same space there where you joined. Looking at the camera view again, and I'm having a hard time. I don't understand why the camera view does not, my brain doesn't like to process the camera view. Anybody else have that problem? All right, we're going to do 5 of these squares. So we're going to slip stitch, chain 2, 3 half double crochets in the same space where you did your join. And we're going to do that for 5 squares. And I think we're going to end up running over into the knitting portion of class. Are there anybody here knitters waiting to see the knitted portion of class? Good morning, Karen the Sassy Hooker. How are you this morning? Yes, these graphs can be used for knitting, for crochet graphgans, for corner to corner. They're multi-use graphs. They can be used for just about everything. I'm doing really good this morning. Doing really good this morning. I'm glad because I have to do some running out today. Again, we did a slip stitch, a chain 2, and 3 half doubles. And we're going to do one more of the maroon. Slip stitch, chain 2, 3 half doubles in the same space as your join. And you can see here already that our picture is forming. And again, you can take graph paper, you can give your kids color pencils, crayons, whatever, tell them to draw a picture in that graph. One color in each square. And you can make them a coaster based off of what they drew, and they just think you're amazing. No, we're going to be over here. We're going to be up in Pennsylvania today. We might be over that way. I'm going to be over that way Thursday for sure. I have an eye doctor appointment. So again, we're going to change colors. So drop the yarn that I'm not working with anymore in between the stitch or the loop on the hook and the stitch here. We're going to reach back here, and our white yarn was left right there for us. We're going to go in here and do our slip stitch. And that white yarn right there, draw it up a little bit tighter here after you do your slip stitch. That's probably what I didn't do for that one down here. I didn't draw it up tighter. And we're going to go ahead and do our chain 2. I'll have to take a look at that here in a minute. Because for some reason, and I've already performed my chain 2, I tightened it up pretty good, but I didn't get it really good there. So when you do your color changes, when you do your slip stitch, make sure that you snug it up a little bit. I'm skipping a step, so I'm worried about everybody catching the pattern. Now we're going to do 3 half double crochets in here. But again, is there anybody waiting on the knitted portion of class today? Good morning, country girl mama. So we have now finished row 9. And we are getting ready to start on row 10, which is going in this direction. All my even rows, I always go up, and all my odd rows, I always come down. So we're going to have 1 cream block, and then 5 of the maroon, and then we'll have 3 of the cream again. So we're going to have a couple color changes here. So we're going to go ahead and do the 1 cream block, which again, chain 5. And then you're going to go the 3rd chain from the hook. There's the 3rd chain. Do a half double crochet in that chain and 1 in the next 2 chains that follow. 1 in each one. And then we're going to flip our work and attach. So just flip your work straight up. Go into here and attach. These aren't coming out very well because I didn't tighten those up. And then do your, well, we're not going to do our slip stitch because right here we have to do our color change. Again, the yarn you're no longer using goes between the loop on your hook and where you're going to perform your next stitch. You pick up the red here. And what I'm going to do is snug up this white one here. There we go. And then do my chain 2. And then we are going to do our 3 half double crochets, making sure that you're not working over the white, which you're leaving behind, but you are working over the red that you stretched across the back. Okay, and we have 5 of these squares to do. So again, slip stitch, chain 2. I don't think anybody's waiting for the knitting portion, so we might just keep doing the crochet portion today. And the knitting portion, oh, let's see. I can come back this afternoon, but I don't know what time I'll be back. All right, and come tomorrow, because I got like 2 minutes by my phone clock, and clock on the wall's chiming 9 now. So again, joining our squares together, we're going to do a slip stitch, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. Always do it another day. I don't think I would be able to get back to you on the knitting portion with a guaranteed time until Friday. Oh, you finished your granny square tote bag. I would love for you to send a video, do a video and tag me, or, you know, send me a picture of it. I love to see everybody's work. I do. I just finished that one that I did the granny squares with the eyeballs on. I don't know if you guys saw the video or not, but the recipient, she's a friend of mine. She absolutely loved it. Okay, there is our 5. Let me double check again. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, now we're going to do another color change. And you can see your yarn does get tangled together. I do my yarn up in cakes like this. Normally not this big. I'll do a smaller size cake, like about like this. And I'll have multiples of them, especially if the white areas you know, the outside background gets divided up. That way I don't have to keep cutting and adding back in, which gives you a whole lot of ends on the back that you have to weave in every time you cut your string. So I'll use a smaller cake, and I will straighten the strings out, and I will unravel every so often. That's the only throwback on corner to corner, having to unravel. Now, mind you, if you get little cardboard bobbins, you can wind the thread around that, and it's very easier. Oh, goodness, the cat was in the couch. And we're going to do our color change here, and we're going to pick up the white string in the back, do our slip stitch to join those two squares together. And we start off with that white for our chain 2 so that the color doesn't bleed in from the slip stitch, and then do a color change after. I will show you more about doing color changes. I can talk about it a little bit more. We'll do the knitting portion of class on Friday. We'll do it at 8 o'clock Friday morning. That way we can go ahead and finish this up. Anyone who's following along will have a finished coaster. I wanted to try and find something that wasn't too small, something that gave you the chance to practice, and I'm just going right along talking. We're doing 3 half double crochets. Now we're going to do a slip stitch. When you do your color change, no matter what stitch you're doing, if you're doing a half double crochet, this being the first part of the half double crochet, when I yarn over here, this is going to be the last stroke of that stitch. Oh, Jillian, give me just a second and I will answer that question. But for color changes, when you do your last yarn over to complete the stitch to have just one loop on your hook, yes, actually there's multiple stitches to do a square C. But on the last stroke of the stitch, which would be here, when you do your final yarn over to pull through to one stitch on your hook, this would be where you would change your color on a half double. On a double crochet, it would be that last yarn over and pull through. You would yarn over with your new color. Same with the double crochet. The last yarn over and pull through is when you want to do your color change. So that way, this little piece here doesn't bleed up into the other. Now, see, to answer your question, and it'll be easier, let me finish up this corner right here, and I will show you. This here is one square block, but you have a chain 2 and 3 half double crochets. So you have 4 stitches per square that you have to do. Okay, so on this next one, we've just completed that row here. So that was row 10. And we went upwards this way. So row 11 comes down this way. We have one. This first square right here, I'll show you how many stitches are in that first square because I'm getting ready to do that square right there. Okay, to do that we have to chain 5. Okay, pull out some of this white yarn here. I'm getting restricted on it moving. Now we're going to do 3 half double crochets. We've got to go 3 chains from the hook. We start here with 1 half double crochet. Then we go to the next chain and do a half double crochet. And then we go to the third chain, the last one in that chain 5. And half double crochet. This equals that one square. So there's multiple stitches to make that one square. And then when we go to the next one, we have to connect them together. So we have to turn our work up so that we can connect these 2 squares together. So yeah, there's more than just one stitch to make a square, but each square represents one square on your project. if that makes any sense. I hope so. Yes, this is graph paper. You can buy graph paper. You can make graph paper. You know, just draw your lines with a ruler. But yeah, graph paper, and you can graph this. This came from Repeat Crafter. I did link this in my link tree right above my videos on my profile page. There's a link tree link. If you click on that, this will be the top link. It is the coffee mug C2C. So it is linked in there. I think I did say that at the beginning, but I did come on early, like 5 minutes early. So again, we're going to do our slip stitch, and we have 1, 2, 3 of this white here. So again, after your slip stitch is a chain 2, and then 3 half doubles in the same space where you did your join. Okay, my yarn's getting squeaky. My hands are damp. It's getting a little warm. So we have to do one more square. We did our slip stitch. We're going to chain 2, 3 half doubles. This will give us our third square in that row. If you take a photo and you can upload it to Stitch Fiddle, Stitch Fiddle will help you. They have a gauge formula in there if you know how to do gauge. If not, I can help you with gauge. You can upload your gauge, or you can dictate how many pixels you want. Now, that's also going to be gauge on your corner to corner. What it's going to ask information-wise on your gauge is how many squares per inch do you have? Okay, I have 2 by 2 square, makes a whole inch. Okay, this covers 2 squares. 2 squares this way makes an inch, and 2 squares this way makes an inch. That will give you the dimensions of how many pixels. So if I did this on like 10 pixels, you know, if I wanted 10 inches, I mean, not 10 pixels, I could figure out how many inches a blanket has to be, and I can upload that pattern. Stitch Fiddle, if you pay for the premium, which is $30 for the whole year, it will write you out the directions. It'll tell you how many of the white, how many of the red, you know, and it writes it out like that. But you still have to know how to do the corner to corner style. If that makes sense. I hope it does. We have 3 white, and then we have to go to a maroon. Yeah, you can make bags out of these. You can make coasters out of these. You can make all kinds of things out of these. Anything that you can think of to make a picture, you can use. Now, our red is down here a little bit further, and we need to bring it up. So we're going to carry it behind our work again because we're doing our color change now. Okay? Are we doing our color change now? Yes. Why are we doing a color change now? We shouldn't be. Maybe we should. 1, 2, 3. It says we should. All right, we're going to trust the pattern, even though it doesn't look right to my eyes. My brain sometimes doesn't process things right. Everybody just deal with me. Now, mind you, I did stretch that, and again, I'm going to try to loosen that stitch up a little bit. There we go. I want it quite that loose. And pull everything back tight again. There we go. I want to leave a little bit of this here on the back side because I have to work over it. I don't want this just flying around back here, but I need the extra so that I can work over it. Now I have to do my chain 2 because I'm stretching it from up here, not just down here. So we're going to do our 3 half double crochets in there, and we're going to work over top of that maroon that we stretched. You can see I'm working right over top. All my half double crochets are going right over top of it. Okay, and then when I come up here, I'm going to make sure that my hook comes up underneath, so I work this in, and my stitches are worked over top of it again so that we don't see it. Slip stitch to join, chain 2, And for some reason, this doesn't look right, and it's not right. I didn't think it was. I got to figure out why. All right. Because we didn't mark off row 10, that's why. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's row 10. Row 11 starts up here. I thought it didn't look right. We needed 4 squares of the white. So we're going to pull this back out. You guys are going to get to see all the mistakes I make. And even when I upload this to YouTube, I am not going to correct or edit any of this out, because y'all need to know that even though I am 52 years old and I've been crafting for 40 plus years, I still make mistakes. Okay, we're going to do our slip stitch, chain 2, 3 half double crochets in the same space as the join, so we get our full 4 squares. Make sure you mark off the rows in corner to corner. If you don't take the time to sit down and write out 1, 2, the whole pattern, make sure you mark your rows off. No, it is not hard at all. What I will do later on today, if you are available, now we're going to change to our red color. Again, the yarn that we're no longer using goes in between the loop on the hook and the stitch where we're getting ready to work, and pull your slip stitch through. Then when you do your chain 2, which is the next direction, it locks in that white yarn under that chain 2, so it's not going anywhere. And that just hangs out here till we come back up this way. Corner to corner is very simple. You start out with a chain 5. You go to the 3rd chain of the hook, from the hook, and you do a half double crochet. Then in the next 2 chains that follow, you do a half double crochet, which gives you your first little square. And then you pretty much repeat that process for the second square, and you flip it just like I do to keep it going. So again, we're chaining 2 and 3 half doubles in this space. We're going to do a slip stitch, then chain 2, and we're going to do 3 half doubles in the same space where we did our join. I will do a video or a live if you guys want to work. This pattern, Karen, is a repeat crafter. I did put a link in my link tree in my bio. So if you go back to my profile page right above my videos, there's a link tree link. Just click on that and it takes you to all the patterns that I share for class. Of course, they're all free patterns. I don't want anybody to have to pay anything to learn how to do this. I didn't have to, and I'm going to share it so that you don't have to pay to learn. Share this with anybody that you want to. Anybody that you know that wants to learn how to crochet, your family, your children, your aunts, uncles, whoever. I'm here to teach anybody who wants to learn. I really want to tailor the class more so around what my students want to learn, but I'm still waiting for that, engagement, that return from the student side to say, hey, can you teach us how to do this? I don't want to do so much as, okay, here we did our slip stitch and we're going to do a chain 2. A whole pattern. I want to teach stitches, foundation chains for crochet, the basics so that you can get started. I'm going to be doing other things outside of class. I'm hoping to have them kicked off before the end of August. Things got pushed back because, life just happens. So I am doing a giveaway, and I'm going to do a video later today since today's the 1st of August. And we're going to be doing another color change here. I'm going to be doing a giveaway for the month of August, and it will not be, things won't be situated with this giveaway until the 31st of August. The winners will know who they are. And the winner will be able to choose whether they want a knitted or crocheted kit. I'm putting some kits together. To be in the giveaway, all you have to do is be in my random lives, not and has to be one of the top 10 viewers in my random lives outside of Tuesday class. So I will have several kits done up, crochet and knit. The winner won't know what the project actually is, but they will get to choose the craft of their preference, whether it be knit or crochet. And again, all you have to do is be one of the top 10 viewers of my random lives. Now, the more lives random that you're in and are one of the top 10 viewers, the more entries you get into this giveaway. So, just trying to promote myself just a little bit here. Now, we finished up that row. So, row 11, and we worked, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, here we go. Because we worked down this way, I'm confusing myself. So row 12 is going to go this way. And we have 2 of the white to get started. So again, just as you would start corner to corner, you're going to chain 5. Coming back in here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Even if this was the very beginning, for those of you who have been watching, you're going to attach your yarn onto your hook. You're going to chain 5. Oh, thank you, Karen. We're going to yarn over because we're going to do a half double crochet, and we're going to go 1, 2, third chain from the hook. 1, 2, and 3. This one being the third chain. We're going to do a half double crochet in that chain and a half double crochet in the next 2 chains after it. And this is just exactly how corner to corner starts from the very, very beginning. If this was my absolute first square. Okay, when you start every row, that is exactly how corner to corner starts from exactly the beginning. Chain 5. Now, we're going to flip our work. If this was just your chain 5, you wouldn't be doing a flip yet because you would have to do another chain 5, third chain from the hook, half double crochet, and 1 in the next 2 chains. And then you would flip your work because you would have a second square to flip. And then you attach it together with a slip stitch. Now, for 12, we do have 2 of the cream, so we can go ahead and do our slip stitch with this color. And then chain 2. Okay? After your chain 2, you're going to do 3 double crochets in the same space as your join. Oh, we're squeaking. I don't want to squeak. Ooh, because that's going to start irritating me. And I know it's because my hands have gotten a little bit warm. The temperature's changed a little bit. Now, we've done these 2 white squares. We're going to change to our maroon. And we're going to have 5 squares that we're going to do in maroon. Again, to do your color change, you're going to drop the color you're no longer using in between the loop on your hook and where you're going to perform your next stitch. Right on the back side should be your red right where you left it. Give everything a little snug up. And then do your slip stitch. Okay? Then you're going to chain 2 and repeat the 3 half doubles in the space where you did your join. And this is the repetitive part. Slip stitch, chain 2, 3 half doubles. Slip stitch, chain 2, 3 half doubles. And you do that all the way up to the top or until you get to your color change. Now, this blanket, or if you're making a blanket corner to corner, you can work this until it gets wide enough that it lays across the area that you want to cover. Then you start doing your decreases. Now, when we get up to here, we're going to do a decrease. When we get back down to here, we're going to do another decrease. So at the end of this row, hey Lordy, good morning, Gwendai. I hope I don't murder everybody's names. All right, I'll give you a holler after a while, baby girl. But, you know, this is the repetitive part. And like I was saying about a blanket, once you get it to the width that you want, then you start decreasing. Now, if you don't want it to be a complete square, you're going to only decrease on one side. That we can show later. Because I might decide that one of my crochet alongs might be a corner to corner, and it might have a nice little picture on it. So we are going to do our 5 squares in our maroon with a slip stitch, a chain 2, and 3 half doubles. We've worked the 3 half doubles. Now slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 half doubles. I like this corner to corner because I like watching pictures form. I have a massive fascination with being able to make pictures with yarn. And I'm not talking about, gluing it down on paper like you do with the macaroni pasta and all that kind of stuff. Being able to do these stitches, whether it be knit or crochet, and being able to create a picture. I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay, we've got our 5 maroon. Now we're going to change our color again. The color we're no longer using lays over your crochet hook in between your loop and where you're going to perform your next stitch, and you've picked up the color that you left. Mine just happens to be an off-white color here. And we're going to slip stitch and chain 2. I'm going to give this a little tug and make sure that's snugged up. Now we're going to do 3 half double crochets in that space where we did our join, making sure that we work over the white yarn that we picked up that was left hanging on the back side. You make sure you work over that. If not, it is going to hang out and it's going to stick out like a sore thumb. Now I'm going to take just a second to see if I can't untangle this maroon here very quickly. I hold the 2 white pieces up until everything kind of breaks loose, and then I can get that maroon out of the middle there. There we go. And I might do this a little because these 2 are twisted up pretty good too right now. I'll just take one of them and just keep passing it over the string until it unravels. And I do this every 4 or 5 rows, depending on how long my rows are and how many colors I got going. I like to keep them unraveled as best I can. Okay, and we do our slip stitch and our chain 2, 3 half double crochets again. Oh, corner to corner is so much fun. I mean, if you have a basic understanding of the crochet stitches, which is really what I want to do with class, is to give you a basic understanding of crochet stitches without having you do the same crochet stitch in a row. I want to help everybody learn the stitches, but do it with a project so that way, they have a project. They just don't have a line of stitches. Unless somebody wants to do a crochet sampler blanket, and then we can do 1 row of this stitch and 1 row of that stitch, separated off by a row of, single crochet of, a solid color. I want to help everybody learn what they want to learn. And there's things still that I want to learn. We're up here at the top now with the chain 2. 3 half double crochets. And anybody who's new to crocheting, please, when I'm up here teaching, or if I'm doing a live and you need to see the stitch demonstrated a little more slowly, I will break it down for you. If you're a new crocheter and you want to know how I hold my tension, I will show you what every finger is doing on each hand so that you learn how to hold it, because I think that's the main thing that people don't teach when they teach you how to craft. Is how, and even if I teach you how I hold my hook, I'll hold my hook like this, I'll hold it like this. Sometimes you see me doing like this. It's just however it feels comfortable in my hand at that minute. I'll change it up left and right and back and forth. I am here to help with patterns. If you need pattern reading help, I'm here to help break a pattern down for you. I'm here to help show you stitches, different styles of, I guess they'd call this a style, a corner to corner, because it's grouping stitches together. Anything that you want to learn, I'm here to help teach. And like I was saying, there's a lot of stuff that I still have left that I want to learn. All right, now we're going to mark off 12. And as I'm learning them, like the mosaic crochet with those beautiful mosaic blankets, or the mandala blankets with all of those different stitches in a circle round and round and round. I would love to do crochet alongs and knit alongs to where, you know, I give everybody a certain amount of time to have supplies and everything that they need. And we'll do so many rows, you know, twice a month and do a crochet along on a live. I don't want to overburden myself too much because of the fact that I do have health issues that impede me being able to do things on a daily basis. And it causes a lot of issues for me to be able to do what I want sometimes. But I'm trying to push through all of that. Now, we are going to do a decrease because we don't want this square to be any taller. If we kept going and did what we did and did a chain 5 at this point, we would go another block taller. So we don't want to go another block taller. Yes, we're working on corner to corner right now. We're just doing total crochet today because this went seriously over. And I can't extend today because I have to go out. I'll have to leave the house at 10:30 today. So we're going to do a decrease, and I'm going to show you what a decrease looks like in corner to corner. Some people will write decrease in the pattern. Other people will write corner or start corner. That's also an indication of a decrease. It just depends on how the designer of the pattern wants to word it. And that's the thing that's not too standard. So for a decrease in the corner to corner, we're not going to chain 5. Connie, my classes are absolutely free. You're in one right now. They are absolutely free. The only thing you have to do is supply your own materials. Absolutely free. So to do a decrease, normally to continue on, we would do a chain 5 and keep going. We are going to slip stitch. We are actually going to turn our work as if you would turn regular crochet work. And we are going to slip stitch in the top of this half double, a slip stitch in the top of this half double, and then we're going to slip stitch in that chain 2 space. So let's go ahead and do that. We're going to slip stitch in here. Watch it through the regular view, not the camera view, and I can keep a hold of stuff. There's one slip stitch. Go to the next stitch, which is the top of the half double crochet from the last row. Do another slip stitch. And then in that chain 2 space, we're going to do a slip stitch. So this, in effect, has got our square now coming across like it is in the graph. So we're going to start here, and we're going to start like we normally would with a chain 2 doing this row. So we have a chain 2, and we're going to do 3 half double crochets. Tunisian crochet, yeah, I have done that some too. I have a project coming up that I'm making for myself that requires Tunisian crochet, and I'm going to, of course, we're going to slip stitch now and chain 2. I'm going to take that pattern and see if I can't do it knitted instead of do the Tunisian crochet. And I'm doing 3 half double crochets in the same space as my join now. And I'm just going to repeat that for however many squares we need here. And we're starting this row here, going this way, which would be labeled as row 13. And then 14 would be down here. But I'm not going to write all those numbers because that's going to confuse me. A graphghan is where you take this and you crochet single crochets and do this picture in a graph. Each one of these blocks would be a single crochet. So you would chain 12, work back across single crochets in one color, come up here, chain 1, turn your work 4 colors in single crochet, then work these 5 colors in single crochet, and then work these 3 colors in single crochet. Chain 1, turn your work, and work across this row. You would do your color changes. Each one of these blocks would be a single crochet for a graphghan. See? The graph would be bigger than your, yeah. This here is, it would make it immensely smaller. It would only be 10 stitches across. Yeah, it would be like tiny, like micro. But if you were doing a Grafghan, this would be done out big enough for a blanket. So you would have to take this image and enlarge it to make it bigger. Actually, I would take this image, blow it up on a printer to where it fit, you know, a bigger page. And you could make it to fit, you know, the graph pixels could be even smaller. You could have 10 pixels in each one of these, and then you'd have 10 rows per row, if that makes any sense. It does to me. But yeah, you blow the graph up and make more pixels inside of here, and it would make this immensely bigger. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 squares of the off-white here. And we've got 2 done. We're going to slip stitch, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. But yeah, I want to do all kinds of things to teach you guys things outside of class. And we're just going to keep doing that slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 half double crochets until we get all 5 of those little pixels done. And I'm on 1, 2, 3, 4 right now. We got a slip stitch, chain 2, and then 3 half double crochets, and we're going to do a color change. I'm trying to expedite this along because I got maybe another half hour, and it's taken us an hour and a half to get to this point. All right, our color change. We are going to go into the stitch. The color we're no longer using goes in between the loop and where we're going to perform the stitch. Hey Lorraine, how are you this morning? And then we're going to chain 2, 3 half double crochets. And we have, for this one, let me mark these marks on here so I don't get all. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 of the maroon color. So we've already got one of them done. To do 3 more. So we're going to slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 half double crochets in the same space you did your join. Again, we're going to slip stitch, chain 2, and then 3 half doubles. Now, if you don't want your yarn to get tangled up as you're doing this, because I have 3 strings of yarn hanging off the back side of here now. 1, 2, 3, we need 1 more. And then we're going to change colors. You can take your yarn and unravel it at each row. As you change your color, you would pick up that skein of yarn and move it over to the right, so that when you go to pick up this next one, they don't come intertwined. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We only had 4 of the red there. We're going to go to our color change. So the one we're not using in between, and give it a little tug to make sure it's tight. Perform your slip stitch, and then your chain 2 locks that yarn in there so it's good to go. I hope my dogs don't start. My husband's son's got to take his car out to the shop, and I think I heard him just try to open the door. If they get loud, I might have to mute my microphone for a minute. And we're going to continue on to this end here. Actually, we're not going to continue on to that end, because after we do our 4 of the maroon, we only have 1, 2 squares of the cream color left. So we already did 1 of the squares here. We're going to do the other square here, and you can definitely see that we're going to have to do a decrease here, because we're going to end not where we normally end, which would be on the top of this square. We're going to end next to it. I'm sorry about that. My German Shepherd has somewhat learned not to bark, but my little dog, small breeds just like to make noise. So, we are going to attach with a slip stitch, and normally we would continue on with the chain 2, but because in our pattern we only have 2 cream squares at the end of this row, we have our 2 cream squares. So we need to come back up to here to make our next square in this space. So we're going to chain 1, turn our work just like you would normally for crochet, and then we're going to slip stitch in the top of these 2 half double crochets, 1 slip stitch in each one, slip stitch in this one, and then 1 more slip stitch in the chain 2 space. Okay, and that brings us to the end of that row right there, and we've worked back up so we can work this square here. So we're going to have 2 of the cream squares and 3 of the maroon squares, and then we're going to get into our steam here on our cup. So we are going to, at this point, chain 2, which is for our stitch height for our 3 double crochets. Yeah, see, I'm on here every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're still on here so that you can get this information. And I'm on here for 2 hours every Tuesday. Normally, if I do random lives, I have them scheduled for 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I don't have set days scheduled because health reasons. We're going to do 3 half doubles right here. But if I do come on randomly, it'll always be at 11:30. Because then everything that I have to deal with and take care of in the morning is done by then. And then I'm free to do what I want for the day. We got 1 more white square to do. So again, we're going to slip stitch to join, chain 2, and do your 3 half double crochets in the same space as your join. Oh, I might have to turn a bigger fan on or something because hands are getting a little damp and now the yarn's screaming. Okay, we have our 2 squares per our pattern here. Now we need 3 of the maroon, so we're going to do our color change. Lay the yarn we're no longer using right in there. Pick up the red that we so conveniently left on the back side. That's one thing you need to make sure to do. When you do your color changes, make sure to bring your color through to the front side before you start to perform your next stitch, because when you flip this over, that color will be on the back side. So it'll be where you need it to be. And we've done our chain 2, and we're going to do our 3 half double crochets in that chain 2 space. Same space as where you did your slip stitch. Do our slip stitch to join, chain 2, and then 3 half double crochets. And 1 more maroon square, and then we're going to do a color change and start working on the steam. So we will now have, I currently have 3 skeins of yarn attached. When we attach on the steam color, which we need to do right now, we're going to lay this down. And because it's a new color coming in, for those of you who might not have caught when I added these other colors at the beginning, I take and wrap it around my finger here and make a loop that is big enough, about like that. So I have some to work over and some to weave in. Thank you for the follows, everybody, and Aubrey for the share. G, thank you for following. And I'm just going to pull that through just like it's the next little bit of loop and perform my slip stitch with that. I take the tail, that is the end, and I hold it up against where I'm going to be doing. Let me tighten this up here. That's like awesomely loose. I take the tail, I got it mixed up with my white yarn, don't do that. And I'm going to lay it down there so that, oops, let's go ahead and do the chain 2 so that I can hold my tail down there. And the tail end of my yarn here. I'm going to work my 3 half double crochets, but I'm going to make sure to work over top of that so that it doesn't show. Plus, that becomes the start of weaving in that end. It helps hold it secure until I can come back and weave it in behind this square. Okay, and I'm going to leave that to the back side. I like to leave all my ends to one side when I do that. I'll pull them all through to one side and then I'll hook them together. Now, we only have one of those and we're going to go back to the white. So, we're going to bring this gray for our steam to the front and we're going to pick up that white. Okay, and get a hold of it really good and perform our slip stitch. Okay, your gray yarn should still be right there, but once you perform your chain 2, it locks that in there. Okay, you can give it a little tug, tighten it back up when you come back through, pick it up to go use it again, and then we're going to do our 3 half double crochets. And we're going to keep going up to the top here. Slip stitch, chain 2, and 3 half double crochets. Okay, again, slip stitch to join, and you're slipping that in the chain 2 space from the last row. Chain 2. And then 3 half double crochets in that same space. You're going to do that until you come all the way up and we're even here because we are already doing our decreases. Okay, slip stitch, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. And I wanted to make a comment to you guys. Excuse me. I don't know if you know about this members subscribers thing up here with the little hearts. I know people have to pay for that. I just want to let you know that that's money that TikTok is collecting from you. Now, once we secured, we did a chain 1, and we are going to slip stitch in the top of these 2 half double crochets, and then 1 slip stitch in the chain 2 space. And this works us up that one side so we don't increase our square anymore. But this also helps us work our yarn up to here so that we don't have to cut it and reattach it so that we can start our next square. And I want to go ahead and finish marking all these off so I remember which row I'm on here. And we are working this one this way. So we have 1, 2, 3, we're going to have 4 of the white squares. So here's where we left off. We are going to chain 2 and start working our next square here. 3 half double crochets. And this one is going to be bigger than that other one because I think I used a smaller weight yarn for this one. This one's definitely a smaller weight yarn than what I've got right here. Slip stitch to join, chain 2, 3 half double crochets. Oh yeah. Let me see if this works. It's going to end up. Somebody said rub it in your hair. It'll stop it from squeaking. Nope, don't work. And I'm going to have to count again because I think that it was 4. Yes, 4 squares here. And it's all pretty repetitive. Oh, it feels like fall in South Carolina. Yeah, I know. It's really driving me crazy, but it would take me a minute to cool this room off with the air conditioner. And I'm trying. I'm not crocheting as tight as I am. It's just that my hands have gotten a little damp from the moisture. And I don't want it to get too wonky out of shape. But I'm going to have to end here in about 15 minutes anyway, so I can prepare to go out. I'm very sorry, Austin, about this. If you guys understand the concept of this, I can always finish this up at the beginning of Friday's class to start doing the knitted portion, which we skipped over today. But you can see our cup is starting to shape up here. I got a little steam going. The squeaking, that is the yarn and the hook. My hands got a little moist, a little damp. So of course the yarn's running through my hands, getting a little wet. And then, you know, the hook and everything all in that. Yeah. Spray the yarn with Febreze. Does that actually help? I think it's the fact that my hands, whenever I get to crocheting and stuff in the summertime, I really have to have the air on. I thought it was going to be cool enough this morning that it wasn't going to do this. Yes, I can turn it over and show the back side. It looks, let me pull this out. If I had all the yarn off of here, it looks the same thing from front to back, just flipped. And this is a little crooked because I haven't got everything else done on that row. But yeah, it's the same. It's just flipped. And with this one here, after you weave in all the ends, I definitely will come back, and I'll start off with this Friday morning. I'll be back at 8, just like we would normally start class. And we'll finish this up Friday morning. But you'll end up with this. And I normally weave in my ends all on one side, but this being the front side because it matches my graph, this being the back side because it doesn't match my graph, but there's no difference. There's no difference. So both sides look just the same. Have to keep it sprayed. Oh, okay. But yeah, here's the back side of this one. And then this one, because I've got all these strings. All these different strings. Yeah, that has to be woven for my color change. Here's a color change. But yeah. Color changes on this side that have to be woven. And these here, these got a little loose. I was so worried about telling the directions and the color changes that I forgot to pull them a little tighter. But that's the only reason why those did like that. And here. Yes, I have actually this skein, this skein, this skein, and a second skein. So my white, there's actually, you can see here, there's actually two separate skeins of white. So that way, I carried it in the beginning with just one square, but carrying it, you're eventually going to forget to work over it, or you're going to draw it too tight. Instead of having skeins of yarn, you can get the plastic bobbins, which just look like a plastic square, rectangle, and you wrap your string around it, and then at the top it's got a little notch. You just pull your string through and it holds it tight. And you have separate bobbins that can be held pretty close to the edge, so you don't have all of this tangling up. You can use these as coasters. This is acrylic. I would recommend cotton for washcloths if you're making washcloths. But you can make washcloths out of corner to corner. Use your cotton yarn. You can do the same pattern on here. You can make patterns, smiley faces, the emoticon faces. I did a blanket, a stroller-sized blanket, which is probably about 30 by 30, just to cover a baby in a stroller or a car seat. And I put the emoticon faces on there, the smiley face, the sad face, the crying face, the one with the tongue sticking out. And I did it in corner to corner. You can do washcloths like this. And if you use cotton, you can make hot pads just like this to go in your kitchen with pictures on them. Words, letters, anything. Anything. So, well, thank you, Arlene. But yes, I'm going to go ahead here shortly, if we don't have too many more questions about the corner to corner. I will definitely set this aside. We will finish this up Friday morning at 8 a.m. We will continue class. And the knitted portion, I was going to show you this little mug rug. I had started it this morning trying to get a demo done so I could show you. and I didn't have enough time to put all the fringe on here. This would show you color changes in knitting, how to secure your color changes in knitting while you're working, how to add fringe. So definitely Friday morning. Yeah, I've got one that I'm using corner to corner. I'm going to make up a small lap throw just to use up some scrap yarn, and I'm changing every row. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to do this Friday, definitely for sure. I took a Bright Stripes skein of yarn, and if you want to get ready for Friday's class, I divided it up. Not all of it, but some of it, so that I had the black to go in between each. And these are 2 rows of black, a cast on, 2 rows of black, 2 rows of each color. And then, you know, the 2 rows of black and then the cast off. And then at the end of each one of them, I'm going to put the fringe. And I might fuzz them out a little bit. I think I'm going to fuzz them out a little bit. Lori, I'm going to show you how to do the cast on. I'm going to do it very, very slowly. I'm going to, and it doesn't have to be a stretchy cast on, so I can show you a cast on that is not complicated at all. So, I did this in all knit, just for time, so that I could get time, but I'm probably going to do it Friday in knit and purl, so I can teach the knit stitches and the purl stitches. I did 22. I cast it on 22. I'm probably going to shorten it up just for time and everything, because if I set my coffee cup on here, yeah, I could shorten this up by almost a third. So I'd probably only cast on about 14 or 15 stitches to make a nice mug rug. And that mug was a big coffee mug. So yeah, probably only about this big for a mug rug, and have the fringe on both sides. Oh, well, come on back. Come on back. Friday. Definitely for sure Friday. You might be able to catch me throughout the week if I have time, because I've got so much stuff going on this week with appointments and people coming to give estimates for things here at this house, that I don't know definitely when I will be on. But if you follow me, after you follow me, make sure you click on the little bell. It is default set to personalized notifications only. You want all notifications so that you get notified every time I go live. So, and if I do get a chance to go live between now and Friday, it will be at 11:30. It will be no earlier than 11:30 Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, dust your needles off, break them out. We're going to help you. We're going to help you build that skill level up and have you making the things that you want to make in no time. Because knit, to me, there's only 2 stitches. There's the knit stitch and the purl stitch. The yarn over is an increase. And everything else is just a manipulation of those stitches, just like crochet. So I'll teach you anything you want to learn. Oh, I have circulars on hand. I love knitting with circulars. I've got mad circulars. But yeah, so we will see everybody back Friday. I'm going to go ahead and end. Yeah, I started out with crochet, Lori, and then went to knit. But I do have some running to do on a balancing blocks throw. Yeah, if you guys have a chance to do a video here on TikTok, if you feel up to it, you don't have to put your face in there, just like me. I don't put my face in there. I want a little bit of anonymity here, but I want to be able to share these skills with whoever wants to learn. Just take your phone, flip your camera around so all you're looking at is your work, and tag me. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. So you guys have a great day. Thank you for joining me today. Come back definitely Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will finish up our little crochet coaster, and we will work right on through with this knitted one. So if you're feeling advantageous and you want to go ahead, or adventurous, and want to go ahead and finish up this, go ahead, and you'll be prepared for Next week, if you want to hang back, go ahead and hang back. We definitely will pick up right where we left off and finish up this crochet coaster first, and then we'll jump on over to this mug rug. Now, mind you, if you just want to practice the knit and purl, you don't have to do the color changes. I should have told you at the point when I did the color changes, if you weren't changing color, go ahead on to the slip stitch and the chain 2. I will have to make sure that I do that when I go to do the next one. But yeah, I'd love to do some crochet alongs to build people's skills. We can do lives right here on TikTok and just crochet together. And of course, you're going to see what I'm doing, how I'm performing the stitch. I'll break down everything I can possibly break down to the tiniest little function. My mother did it for me, and I'm willing to do it for anybody who wants to learn. So, check me out on Friday. I hope you guys have a great week. And I hope I have a minute to come on in between now and then. If not, may all your stitch counts match, and happy crafting.